For a lot of people getting ready for retirement, the sales pitch for a timeshare sounds pretty amazing. Who wouldn't want to lock in a lifetime of incredible vacations for your family, all at today's prices? It seems like the perfect plan for your golden years. But for way too many seniors, that dream curdles into a financial nightmare, one that can last for the rest of their lives and even threaten to saddle their kids with the bill. So how does this dream turn into a trap so often? Let's get into it. This right here, this is the promise. It's so simple, so powerful, and for the salespeople, it works like a charm. The idea that you can beat inflation and guarantee those family trips forever is the dream they're selling. But what happens when the reality in the fine print turns that dream into a financial cage?
And here's the reality. You ready for this? Industry data shows that a whopping 85% of people who buy a timeshare end up regretting it. 85%. That's not just a number, you guys. That shows a massive gap between the vacation fantasy they sell you and the brutal financial truth that people are stuck with for years, sometimes decades. So in this explainer, we're going to walk through exactly how this all goes down. First, we'll look at those high-pressure sales tactics. Then we'll dive into the rising costs that put the squeeze on retirees. We'll unpack that inheritance trap that has so many people terrified, expose the scams that prey on desperate owners, and then finally, we'll lay out some legitimate ways to find a safe way out. Okay, so the trouble starts the second you walk into that sales presentation. And let's be clear, these are not casual chats over coffee. These are carefully designed environments, basically engineered to exploit our psychological weak spots, especially for seniors who, are often just too polite to get up and leave. What's so fascinating here is how they break down the playbook. It's a full-on assault. First, there's cognitive depletion. They keep you there for hours, wearing you down physically and mentally until you'll do anything to make it stop. Then they use reciprocity manipulation, giving you free tickets or a gift card so you feel like you owe them something. They hit you with legacy framing, saying, "Oh, this isn't for you, it's a gift for your kids and grandkids." And the knockout punch? Artificially induced urgency, a special price that's going to disappear the second you walk out that door. By the end of it, a lot of people sign just to escape the room. And once that ink is dry on the contract, the real financial pain begins. For retirees living on a fixed income, this is where the crisis really starts. That big purchase price you paid up front, that was just the cover charge to a lifelong commitment of ever-increasing bills.
Okay, here's the part everyone needs to understand. Every single timeshare owner has to pay annual maintenance fees. It covers everything from the pool cleaner to the insurance. But here's the catch. Unlike your mortgage, these fees are never stable. They are guaranteed to go up, and they often rise way faster than any cost of living increase you get from Social Security. That puts a permanent squeeze on your budget.
And just when you think you've got your budget all figured out, bam, you get slammed with something called a special assessment. This is a surprise bill, and we're talking thousands of dollars. Maybe a hurricane hit the resort or it needs a new roof. If the resort doesn't have the cash on hand, every single owner gets a mandatory bill that you cannot say no to.
This slide just shows you how brutal it can be. Look at these real-life examples from 2025. An owner in Sedona got hit with a bill for over $2,600. Lake Tahoe, over $3,400. And in Honolulu, a staggering $5,344 for 1 year. For a senior on a fixed income, a bill like that isn't just an inconvenience. It's a financial catastrophe.
And this leads to what is probably the single biggest source of stress for older timeshare owners, the fear that they're going to pass this never-ending debt on to their kids. And this isn't just them worrying. It's a reality that's baked right into the legal language of the contract.
At the heart of this whole mess is something called a perpetuity clause. It's a fancy legal term that basically means the timeshare contract lasts forever. It doesn't just disappear when the owner passes away. Nope. The ownership and the responsibility to pay all those future fees automatically becomes part of their estate.
So this is the million-dollar question, right? If my parents die, am I suddenly stuck paying these fees for the rest of my life? The answer, thankfully, is no, but, and this is a huge but, only if you handle it in a very specific and very time-sensitive way. You can't just ignore it and hope it goes away.
So to legally refuse it, your kids have to file a document called a disclaimer of interest. And there are 3 golden rules here. 1, act fast. You usually only have about 9 months from the date of death. 2, you have to file the notarized paperwork correctly with the court and the resort. But the most important rule, the one you can't ever break, is number 3. Do not use the timeshare. If an heir stays there for even one night or pays one single dollar in fees, the law says they've accepted it, and their chance to refuse it is gone. Forever.
So, all this desperation to get out of these contracts, well, it's created a feeding frenzy for scammers. These predators know that older owners are anxious, sometimes isolated, and just desperate for a way out. And that makes them the perfect targets. The FBI and AARP have put out specific warnings on these scams. The red flags are pretty clear. First, be super wary of any phone call that comes out of the blue. Be extra skeptical if they say they have a guaranteed buyer, especially if they offer a crazy high price. Never, and I mean never, pay big fees up front for things like taxes or closing costs. And if anyone tells you to just stop paying your fees to get out of the contract, hang up the phone immediately. This slide does a perfect job showing the scammer's fantasy versus the cold, hard reality. The scammer promises you a buyer who'll pay 30 grand. The truth? The resale market is so flooded, most of these things are listed for $1. The scammer wants you to wire them money up front. A legit broker only takes a commission after the sale is actually done. Scammers give you dangerous advice to stop paying, which, as any real professional knows, leads straight to financial ruin. And the consequences of taking that bad advice are severe. A timeshare foreclosure is treated exactly like a home foreclosure. It can wreck your credit score, dropping it by 100 points or more, and that ugly mark stays on your report for 7 long years. It can affect your ability to get a car loan, a credit card, pretty much everything.
Okay, so after all of that bad news, let's actually talk about some solutions. Getting out of a timeshare is tough, no doubt about it, but it is not impossible. There are some real, safe strategies that you can try to end the contract and stop those endless bills. Here is your step-by-step action plan. The most powerful tool you have, but it's only for brand new buyers, is the rescission period. That's a legally required cooling-off window where you can cancel, no questions asked. If you miss that window, your very next call should be to the resort developer themselves. Ask about their official surrender programs. And if that doesn't work, then you can seek help from responsible, industry-approved exit companies. And when we say you have to act fast, we are not kidding. This chart shows just how tiny that cancellation window is. In Florida and Arizona, you get 10 days. But look at Nevada, a huge timeshare state. It's only 5 days. If you wait 1 day too long, that option is gone for good.
Now, for anyone who's owned their timeshare for a while, this is a huge first step that so many people miss. Before you even think about paying some third-party exit company thousands of dollars, call your developer. The big names like Wyndham, Hilton, and Marriott often have their own in-house programs to take properties back, especially if the loan is paid off. It's almost always the safest and cheapest way to go.
And in the end, it really all boils down to this question. You work your entire life to build a secure, peaceful retirement. The promise of a timeshare is that it will make that retirement better, not drain your bank account with endless fees, fill your nights with stress, and make you worry about burdening your kids. You have to weigh the true, ongoing cost against what you're actually getting and decide for yourself if it's really worth the price.